It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero and Jedi entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Padawan Mike Royer.
This week we're covering Star Wars Celebration Europe, folks. It's here. This is most of our notes, actually. Actually, I take it back. Half of this is trailers, the other half is Star Wars. We're in a great week for this.
Yeah, the Star Wars news came in hot and heavy, and I forgot about all of the trailers that happened a few days before.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to be covering all that. We got trailers for Across the Spider-Verse, Blue Beetle, Extraction 2, and some other things. We're also going to give you our thoughts on the Super Mario Brothers movie, now in theaters, not the 93 one, and more.
Yeah, it's been a wild week for news. We just came off hot talking about our Super Mario Bros. Movie review and spoiler cast.
And experiences, mostly the experiences to get there.
Yes, exactly. A lot going into this film, so make sure you're subscribed. That should be in your feed now as well. So we're primed. We're ready to go.
Yes.
I told everybody last week that I was working through these Mountain Dew cans that you gifted me over the holiday, Chris. Mm-hmm. I'm on my last one now, the Voodoo 2020. Wow. It's the Skittles flavor, basically, or the off-brand version of Skittles that you can legally say.
Fruit bursts or whatever it is. Yeah.
So I'm caffeinated. Mm-hmm, I'm amped up talking about movies.
Yes.
So we're in it. We're gonna. Chris, you have no water at your house, which people would know.
Yeah.
Listen to the review. It's wild out there. It's also a holiday.
It's a holiday.
On what you celebrate.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much going. It's the perfect storm that would cause tornadoes in my region. This week literally happened. Listen to our Mario review, at least the beginning of it before we get into. You'll hear lots of stories about what's going on this week.
I had perfect weather out here. I went out on a bike path the other day.
Look at me on bike with my perfect weather.
Rollerblading. An older gentleman had some small talk with me. Said I looked like I was 25, and I was just like, "Oh, bless you, old man. Yeah. This is amazing." So it's been a pretty decent weekend for me overall. It's great. We got tons of stuff to talk about.
I'm excited. There are so many lightsabers in today's news, Mike, that I'm like, Mike is just gonna love this. He's just gonna be hyped to hear about lightsabers.
I do like lightsabers, but as we all know, my relationship with Star Wars is complicated. So we'll work through that issue like I'm in a therapy session while we go through the news this week.
Okay, well let's start speaking of therapy. Let's talk about Super Mario Brothers. We just got off of this. We're hitting news hot and heavy, folks. Super Mario, we just got off our review here. Let me talk about some of the numbers here. If you've not heard, this is the biggest movie probably ever in a long time. Not like necessarily like Avengers or like Avatar 2 level, but like this has the second best 5-day opening ever. The first one's probably it's got to be Avatar 2 now, right? That's probably why. Mm-hmm. The third one is some sort of Transformers movie because those are big elsewhere in the world. It is currently sitting at 377.2 million globally, making it the best animated movie opening ever, and that's ahead of Frozen 2, which previously held that role in the recent years. And for those who don't know, it's also the biggest video game opening ever. Warcraft was the previous holder and only made like half of this amount of money. So everything is coming up Mario and Luigi this weekend, absolutely for sure. And we talked about our thoughts. Spoiler free here, Mike. We'll flip. I'll go in first this time. And so I will say this movie is if you wanted a video game of Mario come to life, this is it. It is a bright, beautiful colored movie. Lots of great animations, lots of Easter eggs, literally on this day of Easter eggs, references left and right. If you've played Mario once, you're going to notice little things all over the place in this movie. So many that we couldn't even talk about them in our review. But there's an article online that says like 85 different references. So you can go check that out. And I think, when we talk about this, it's got all this great stuff, nostalgia galore, nostalgia trip through anyone who's played Mario. It has got one of the thinnest plots ever in the history of movies, through and through. But it is, again, as we talked, this movie's being the lowest common denominator. Kids and adults at the same time. They just go in, they get some colors, they get some action. They feel good about seeing Mario and Luigi, and they go home. So to me, I had a good time. I like that. I need something to distract from all of the horrible things going. I wouldn't say horrible. All the misfortunes going on in my life this week of like, first world problems at the end of the day. But I'm like, I need some distraction. This was my perfect distraction from that, and I had a good time. My wife loves playing Mario games. She'll only 100% certain games. Mario is one of them. So she was laughing like a giddy like schoolgirl the whole time. So she had a great time. I had a great time. But you have to go in understanding what it is. This is not going to change your life. This is not going to be in your film history textbooks in 100 years when they talk about movies that changed the world. This is not that movie at the end of the day. And I think Mike's review will reflect that a little bit more.
Yes, much like World 1, Level 1 of all Mario games, this is all surface level. Yeah. There's not a whole lot going on here that's going to challenge your definition of storytelling, but there are things that I like. There's some things that I didn't like. Right at the end of the day, there's so much to talk about, like industry-wise with this movie, which we talk about in our review of all of the things that this could do to change the film slate of movies going forward. But I think the movie just ended up being just very average overall. It's really holding on to those references and Easter eggs as hard as it could. But luckily, the musical score is absolutely amazing. To hear those kind of remixed, fresh versions of those musical scores that we've heard in those video games all years, it's just gorgeous.
I think every Mario game and even some non-Mario games get a little melody, right, in the grand scope of the music. And that's really like, it hits that nostalgia button just right, like just right.
They go to that well many times, and most of the time it works. But I understand the uphill battle and the fight and the wave against me. I'm not going to get up on my Apple box and like shout like a grumpy old man. I just wish there was a little bit more, I would say, like Pixar DNA in this, where I wish they would have tried to connect to the adult audience maybe a little bit more and not lean so heavily into the kids audience, which Illumination is pitch perfect at, right? That's why they make so much money, right? Illumination's got to be one of the most successful animation studios out there per dollar. So I don't blame them for doing what they do best, which is making money, which is what a business ultimately does, right? So I won't bemoan too much. I'm hoping for a little bit more out of the sequel, but ultimately they've started something here. This is a wave. I kind of thought maybe we would get something out of this video game wise when we saw Detective Pikachu. I thought that was going to kind of kick off this big video game avalanche, but there's no way that this doesn't, with all of the dollars coming out of this film.
Absolutely.
All of the potential, right? You can already imagine like a Donkey Kong movie coming next. We only got to see like Diddy Kong very, very briefly. We got to get some more of that kid.
Even a cranky Kong said, "Diddy, shut up!" in this one. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, but it's just like, this is a family pleaser, right? Even if I took my parents to this movie, they're just kind of familiar with Mario. I think they would have a good time. So this is the safest movie bet you'll ever make in your entire life. Plan a family reunion before this movie's out of theater and all go see it. So I won't fight the success of this movie. But good job everybody involved. You made a
people
dollar.
in the movie theater were fighting Mike's success of enjoying the movie, and you can hear that in our review.
So you hear about the psychotic teenagers that were in my screening.
We didn't talk about this, but this is the perfect storm, right? It is a holiday weekend, so everybody had Friday off, or most people had Friday off, and it's spring break across most of the country here.
And it's a PG film, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about being a certain age to get your ticket.
You get mom and dad and at least one kid, if not two more kids, the whole time.
Yeah.
So
and
absolutely.
everybody knows who Mario is.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about a lot of deep cut Star Wars stuff coming up here, Rebels included, and it's just like, I can't describe some of this stuff to my extended family.
I am excited to go through these character lists with you because I know what you haven't seen, and that makes me even more excited to go through these. And I've done a little special thing in the notes this week for Mike, and we'll talk about that when we get there. So, Super Mario Brothers, absolutely, I wouldn't say we're on opposite ends of the spectrum. I think we both agree with some of the Nintendon'ts. Wink, wink. I used that earlier, if you will.
Yeah, we have like the same opinions, but you just seem to be more optimistic about it. I'm just more pessimist.
Yeah, I know what I was watching, and it's a Mario. So let's get on to the next topic here. Another video game franchise, because obviously when Mario's doing great, guess what? It lifts up every other game franchise around it. And Street Fighter rights have been acquired by the film company Legendary. And Legendary, ironically, is going to be working on this movie. Did Detective Pikachu? I did not know this. I thought it was another company like a Universal or something, but it was actually, they were the company that did Detective Pikachu, and more recently the Dune movies, the newer Dune movies that were on HBO Max, and I guess theaters as well. So to me, that's okay, right? Like Legendary is not necessarily something I'm thinking negatively for, and the two, I've seen the original Street Fighter movie, right, in '94 when it came out, right, with Jean-Claude Van Damme and Raul Julia, right, as M. Bison. And then I did not watch the one with Kristen Cruick as Chun-Li recently in the past, 15 years?
Oh my God, I tried to watch that. It was just one of those random movies. I think I threw up on the screen through HBO Max. Yeah. And it's one of those films where you can tell exactly what is going to happen, just 5 minutes in, you've already just clocked everything about the movie that you need to know. Oh yeah. And I did not finish it.
Yeah, it's got a really, it's very interesting. It's got a stacked cast, right? Again, Kristen Cruick, known from Smallville, Neil McDonough, Michael Clark Duncan was in it, I believe. Is that right? And Robin Shou, who was he was the, oh my gosh, who in Liu Kang in the Mortal Kombat movie, the original one. So you're like, oh, this doesn't sound too bad, right? But no, that movie is just, I hear it's garbage, absolute garbage. So anyway, so a Legendary taking this over doesn't make me feel bad. I feel like they could probably knock something out of the park with this, right? Hopefully. I never got into Street Fighter as a fighting franchise. My fighting game was always Tekken, which had even worse movies come out. So absolutely crazy about this, but maybe we'll get a Soul Calibur movie, Mike, when this is all said and done.
Well, as we've seen with the somewhat recent Mortal Kombat movie, the hardest thing to adapt in a fighting video game is how do you contrive a fight, right? Yep. You can obviously have people beating each other up in a movie, but how do you kind of organize it around a tournament-based system?
The problem with that was Mortal Kombat has a premise, right? There's a tournament for that, but the Mortal Kombat movie didn't actually get to the Mortal Kombat tournament. I'm like, you sons of bitches, you didn't do a Mortal Kombat. So so Street Fighter, fighting in the streets, right? We'll see. We'll report back to you guys as more information on this comes out, because I'm excited. And then also the next bit is to kind of correct some information from last week's Ballerina. Is a John Wick spinoff film, not a TV series, Mike. The Continental is the series. So they are shooting to release Ballerina June 7th, 2024 of next summer, with Ana de Armas as the lead character.
Yeah, I'm behind on my John Wick watching. Yep. I just need to catch up and watch the fourth one before it leaves theaters, because there's going to be lots of competition coming up soon.
They're running out of space right now, man.
I know it's bad. I need to catch up.
Yeah. So So next summer we'll probably be talking a little bit about the Ballerina movie. Hopefully it's got just as great action as the other John Wick films. Swamp Thing was one of the movies announced on James Gunn's DCU, I guess, slate, right? One of the later movies on there, and it was confirmed this weekend that James Mangold, who has done Logan and the upcoming Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, will write and direct the Swamp Thing movie for the DC studios as well, and he will be working on this in tandem with some other announced projects that we will be talking about later in the episode.
Wink. Yes. Nudge, nudge.
My favorite thing this weekend was explaining why Indiana Jones trailers were coming out at Star Wars conventions to people, because I'm like, it's Lucasfilm. It's all the same company that makes all these.
Well, think how confused they'd be if it was a Willow trailer.
Yeah.
They'd be extra confused. Like, what's American Graffiti rebooted? What is happening here?
THX 1139.
Swamp Thing, cool character. Kind of got off the ground a little bit on CW/DC comic streaming, whatever that briefly
wasn't that the
held
DC
name was.
universe? Wasn't that what that was called as well?
I honestly don't even remember.
And then all the producers got mad at each other, so they cut 3 episodes off of the whole show. So yeah,
James Mangold, great filmmaker. So I'm into anything that he wants to attempt.
Yeah, he's doing some real interesting stuff out there, so we'll talk more about his upcoming projects.
Let's get him directing the sequel to Mario Bros. That would be a different direction for sure.
No, stop. Live action sequel to the Super Mario Brothers. He's doing the sequel to the live action one. Yeah,
bring him back.
Anyway, did you watch the new My Adventures with Superman trailer that came out this week for the animated series? Now, this is coming to Adult Swim, people, but it was not made for Adult Swim. It was made by another company, and Adult Swim is just happy to debut it. So I've had to explain, like, this is not like Squidbillies or Aqua Teen with Superman. This is just a real animated show coming to Adult Swim's block.
Yeah. Yes. So far, I feel like I have either avoided or just ignored any sort of like maybe bad takes when it comes to this trailer, because it's hard to explain, but when you watch it, it feels more kind of Lois Lane centric, which means, a comic book focusing more on a woman's story. Get prepared, internet. People are going to go crazy. But I think luckily it's been pretty tame. I think most people are just excited to see Superman back. So hopefully, that quells any sort of like misogyny that might be out there in the world.
And for those who are upset, who are stupid as hell, don't see this My Adventures with Superman, not My Adventures of Superman, right? Like, it's like someone has to be with them. So we got Lois Lane as a primary and Jimmy Olsen there as well, right? So it's going to be told from the human point of views, and Clark Kent / Superman will be around there as well doing the action.
It looks good, but you bring up a great point. This was not originally made for Adult Swim, so the normal Adult Swim audience, that tunes in at night, they might be like, hey, what is this? This is different. Where's like my fart jokes, that I'm more accustomed to.
This isn't Mobile Suit Gundam 00 that I was expecting to watch on Adult Swim this evening.
I like the character designs. The animation looks cool. It kind of feels like a more bright and optimistic Invincible, So yeah, I think it looks cool.
Yeah, and the action seems to be, in animation you can do as much action as you want, right? Because you're animating it rather than trying to CGI it. So I think the animation looks bigger than what we would see in a normal, like a live action Superman show on the CW. So that's coming summer 2023. So put that on your calendars, folks. My guess is it'll probably stream on HBO Max like a week or two after it debuts. So we'll keep you posted. As predicted last weekend, the Blue Beetle trailer dropped this week, Mike, for this. So this is coming to theaters, by the way. It was originally planned for HBO Max, but you can check out the trailer for this. I will say, they had me in the first half, Mike, with the body horror kind of stuff going on here. I was actually surprised that they didn't take the Iron Man approach, like, right, the suit going over the skin, but it looks like it's literally coming out of his skin in this one with the scarab. But the looks of this movie tells me it was made for streaming first, and they've not gone back and updated the effects at all, or like some of the shots.
There was a couple exterior shots. I think the one where him and his friend are kind of just hanging out under the stars on top of like a shed or something like that, and it's just like, oh, this looks like a television set for sure here. But most of the special effects stuff looks really cool. So I guess maybe the things that they could render inside of a computer and spend a little bit more time on, they can maybe make look a little bit more premium. But maybe the locales, are a little bit more, already built into the film. But I mean, the shot everyone's going crazy for, right, is at the end where the suit tells him, "Oh, I can make anything," and there's debate whether or not he made the Buster Sword or made the sword from Bleach. which is also kind of similar in shape. But the one from Bleach is a little bit more curved at the end, whereas this one looks way more angular. So I'm leaning into Buster Sword, and he does the little flourish across the ground. It just looks really badass. Right?
Yeah, so it's got the female, I guess, AI voice, right? Similar. There's gonna be a lot of Iron Man parallels, right? First thing he does, he busts through a roof and goes to space and does a re-entry. It's cool to see him. He splits the bus in half, which was a cool effect. But the plot really didn't drag me in too much. From the story, like the trailer, the Beetle chose you, but it's mine. Okay, Susan Sarandon, whatever you say. Like, this is typical villain dialogue or monologue here at the end.
Yeah, we did get to see a small reference, right? Because we were kind of curious. This is an origin of a superhero in this universe. Where do all of our legacy characters exist? Batman does exist and is known because George Lopez called him a fascist.
Yes,
which I thought was funny, just because the energy from George Lopez and the scenes that he's in the trailer are great. So I'm looking forward to more George Lopez.
He looks like a George Lopez version of Larry the Cable Guy is what his outfits look like in this. So I'm like, this is interesting.
He looks pretty wacky.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what broader connections they try to make. But yeah, I'm overall I'm bullish on this one. I'm positive.
Yeah, I'm down the middle. I hope it delivers, right? But knowing its origins and knowing that it hasn't really been touched to make theatrical release, very interesting. I did notice there's the scenes where they had the bug mobile or whatever. There's the references to the original Blue Beetles in this, the spandex suits, two of them. I'm like, what? There's a Scarab, but apparently there was an old superhero named Blue Beetle. So I'm interested to see how they tie these two things together, right? Because it looked like Batman 66 era, Blue Beetle layer. So that. The other rumor is that this character, they're going to use this to incorporate it into the DCU with Peter Safran and James Gunn's vision, because there are so few references to the larger DCEU in this. So it may not be the first movie in Gods and Monsters, but I will definitely say it falls under the monster spectrum of the title going forward for sure.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye out.
Yeah. Well, that's our DC news for this week. Other than those Zack Snyder fans trying to drive into the Warner Brothers a lot this morning or this weekend, but that's for another time. Last weekend we watched the Secret Invasion trailer live on the show because it just debuted. But apparently, I've gone back and rewatched this. There are a couple things. The trailer in this indicates that Nick Fury is blamed for something, because Don Cheadle says, "You're the most wanted man in the world." When he left, he wasn't, right. He kind of what we know about him, he was driving around.
Yeah, it's hard for me to track with Fury because I almost feel like he's always in trouble for something.
Yeah,
every
absolutely.
Incarnation of his character that has been on screen. So I just assumed I forgot. I almost I forgot he was in trouble. But yeah, I guess I wasn't keeping track of it.
Yeah, because he was wanted at the end of Winter Soldier, but in Spider-Man No or Far From Home, the Skrull versions were still around, and they were kind of acting publicly a little bit. But some other things were there seems to be the first shots of a Super Skrull in this trailer as well, using non-organic transformation material. So it sounds like maybe they're introducing the idea of a Super Skrull who can do more than just one power or shapeshift in this. So that would be very, very interesting to do in the show at the end of the day, right? Because he's normally a Fantastic Four villain, but I would love to see what they do with that character in the MCU. As long as they don't kill him off by the end, right? That's the big Marvel issue. They like to kill their villains off pretty quickly, even though they're cool. So we'll cross our fingers for that. But you can check out that trailer in our show notes as well. The not a trailer, but actually something else that we've always been excited for the past 9 years now, Mike, is the Guardians of the Galaxy Awesome Mix. Right, when James Gunn brings out the music, what are we excited for? I still have, the Volume 1 playlist. I have the Volume 2 playlist. I've beat those to death over those years. They came out. And now, this week, James Gunn has revealed Volume 3. And you can see all the songs here. There are some from the trailer, like In the Meantime by Space Hog and Since You've Been Gone by Rainbow. There are a lot of songs in here I've never heard before in my entire life. So it seems to be a very more eclectic soundtrack at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, well, the Zune brings diversity when it comes to playlists. Yeah, I still need to check this out, man. Between this and the Mario score, soundtrack we got a little bit to listen to here this
Yes.
summer.
I will say the cool part about this is, Mike, and is the very last song on the soundtrack is the Come and Get Your Love by Redbone, which is actually on the first movie. So it gives me hope in this full circle, right, of Guardian 3 wrapping this thing up. I tried to listen to it a couple times, but, there's a new Fall Out Boy album this week, and you know where my head's at.
I mean, you make a good point. This is going to be maybe one of the very few Marvel movies that we've seen that is actually trying to wrap up a story, right? As opposed to like a bigger Avengers movie, right? That's trying to close out like a big chapter. Like we haven't really. I've seen the the little infographs or the little collages that people post online, like, oh, which Marvel trilogy is your favorite? And you look at them and you're just like, well, yeah, those are kind of trilogies if you put them next to each other. But I mean, like, is Captain America: Civil War really the end of the Cap trilogy?
No,
not really. Maybe there's an argument for the 3 Spider-Man.
I'd say Spider-Man feels like the most because like it wraps up what we knew as Spider-Man while puts him on a new path, right? Like, I feel like that's the closest, and this will be the second to do.
Yeah.
Do
so
something.
this feels like we're actually going for some finality, which I think will be very cathartic in the theater.
Oh, absolutely. Very, very excited to do that. Also, with that, tickets are on sale. I bought my tickets on Monday. I had to buy 5 because everyone wants to go see this as first possible. So the AMC did announce there's a 3-movie marathon the day before this comes out. So if you're willing to sit in the theaters or maybe just show up for the last movie and watch Guardians 1, 2, and 3, you can do that at your local AMC theater starting on, I believe, May 4th. Well, maybe it's May 4th. Maybe it's the day of. No, it's not. It's not the big one. So either way, this is like they said, like how many, like 7 something hours or 9 something hours. I forget what it is. It's a long time. But me and Mike, the first time I ever came out to California to visit Mike, we sat through an Iron Man marathon, which was 1, 2, Iron Man 2, Avengers, and we watched Iron Man 3 a day early. And I will never ever do that again. That was awful. It was a fun time, but like at the same time, you're just like by the time like you're done in the theater, like I am sick and tired of this fucking place. Like I just want to get out of here.
It's too much. It's easier to do at home, right? When you have the freedom to get up and move around and go do the dishes if you need to.
Yeah, you've seen the first 2 movies, obviously, right? Like hopefully, and by this point, like you can watch them like in the background because you've seen them so many times over the years. So
what would be amazing, and I'm going to talk about kind of like mashups and highlight reels more when we get into the Star Wars section. But you know what? Just have like an editor at their studio just put together like an awesome like 30-minute like recap. Right, that I can sit down in the theater, because that's what I do at home anyway. Before I go to the movie, I pull up like a YouTube recap so I can kind of get back into the feel and vibe of it. Just do that officially and put it in front of my eyes, and just put like maybe an awesome like soundtrack underneath it. Just get the feels going.
I tell you what, maybe that could help with Marvel movies going forward, right? A previously on or previously in Marvel. Yes. And it literally just highlights the point. Like, it's not 30 minutes. Maybe it's like, a couple minutes long, right? But it's like highlights the important parts from the movies that you should have watched that dictate this next story. Because they're becoming, literally, like you mentioned, episodic. They are literally little clips of a longer series. So maybe that's the solution we need.
Yes.
Kind of going
But absolutely stay tuned, because I have an awesome idea when it comes to that. When it comes to Star Wars. So,
okay. All right. We're gonna work towards Star Wars,
folks. We
are getting towards Star Wars. We are going to talk about Across the Spider-Verse. We got our first story trailer for this one, and we got 2 versions of this. There is a international version, which includes live action intro. So this is the Toby, Tom, and Andrew intro that we heard rumors about, right? That's the international, but the new, I guess the domestic trailer actually shows more of Miles' family and introduces to the Spot in a humorous bodega scene as well, where the bread falls through him, which is, I think, hilarious to no extent. But what was really cool about this, Mike, and we know about this movie, is the lobby now, right? Quote unquote, the lobby, where all the spider people coexist or are crossing through their timelines. And if you want Easter eggs, this is another point where you're going to have to be zooming in on these trailers to see who's who in the Spider-Man universe. We get to see some cool stuff. It seems like the entire Spider-Verse is out to stop Miles from doing something, right? It sounds like he's got to save somebody. Trailer maybe teases his dad dying or save the multiverse as a whole. We don't know, but boy, does this feel like a good movie at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's just it's almost like a shame because we have so much Star Wars stuff to talk about, and this happened last time too when the trailer for the new TMNT movie animated one came out. But then there was other bigger news to talk about too, of just like. That's just the release schedule when it comes to trailers. No big deal. But yeah, this was awesome. This was an awesome beginning of the week for me. I love what they're doing with Oscar Isaac and Miguel's character. I've seen lots of side-by-sides of the character post-credit scene and this one. He's like so beefed and jacked now, and every time they animate him, they show him like crawling almost like a gorilla or whatever. And I think that's really cool because that's what you get out of animated films that you can't do in live action, right? Because if you had a character like that, you would just be like, what's wrong with this person? Why are they crawling around like a lion or a beast or whatever? But it works in animation because you can get away with stretching the imagination and reality, and it just looks so cool. And it's a great way to kind of code him as like the villain. Like, I don't think necessarily ultimately he's the big baddie of the film. You think he's just doing what he thinks is right, and then we'll see a bigger villain materialize at some point in time. Then Miguel will be on their side. But like, everything's just looking so great. There's tons of jokes in this trailer. I love the very final shot in the therapy session. Oh yeah, and they all burst in through the right side of the screen.
There's a spider horse in that trailer as well. If you look, there's a horse with a Spider-Man mask on when he's bursting through. So part of this is Miguel confirms there's Earth 199999. That's the MCU's Earth because he's referring to Doctor Strange and Spider-Man No Way Home. And then also I really enjoyed he's like get Spider-Man, and everyone does the pointing meme for like in this entire lobby, and I'm like, that's pretty good. I like the pointing meme reference, but
I think that's got to be the end of the pointing meme, though, right? You know, no more. We've exhausted it. I think it works because if you like any joke, the best way to do it is you escalate it every single time. There's no way you beat this.
This is it.
Meme. Yeah, you can't top
this
it.
This is every Spider-Man pointing at everybody else at the same time.
Yeah, you got to retire it. It's good to go. I think there's a high probability that we see Madam Web. If not in this one, in the next final chapter of the movie, because the actress that's supposed to be playing the live-action equivalent of Madam Web,
Dakota
possibly,
Johnson?
Sydney Sweeney from...
she's not Madam Web. She's Spider-Woman.
Oh, is it Spider-Woman? I thought she was Madam Web.
No, she's in Madam Web, but Dakota Johnson is actually Madam Web.
Damn it, Sony! I can't keep track of.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Either way, there's like it seems like Sony is willing to connect all their universes, right? Like
every Spider character is on the table here, so of course we're all excited. We're gonna see this movie now. Is there a chance that this makes as much money as Super Mario? No. I would love it. I think. The probability is low, but who knows? I mean,
they did play this and Turtles before my Mario screening. I don't know about you,
but
same. I'm like, kids saw this. They know kids saw this, and to me, it's just gonna be funny because all these sarcastic, mouthy Peter Parkers all in the same place at the same time is just gonna be a lot of good jokes. I think at the end of it. So, check out that trailer in here. Let us know what you think. That's a fun. Both links are in the show notes, by the way, international and regular. Extraction 2, the Chris Hemsworth movie for Netflix, got a trailer, its first trailer today. And they do confirm, thankfully, it's the first one, he was technically clinically dead after being shot in the neck and then being underwater for God knows how long.
I feel like a little clarification because probably most people listening did not watch the first Extraction, and I don't blame you. This one was it Russo Bros produced, right?
One of them wrote it. One of the brothers wrote the script is what it was.
Yeah, they had a little bit more direct stank on it than some of the other stuff that they've done that I think have landed elsewhere. But I think we talked about it previously, and we were like, oh yeah, this is like kind of like Call of Duty the movie, where they've just like really kind of ramped up the action. There's a great like oneer shot, right, where the camera never cuts. I think like halfway through the movie that we really liked. But I think we both arrived with the idea of like it was fine, you know.
it was an early pandemic movie, right? Like right when everything was locking down. I think it was like April 2020. Is that right? Sound right? And Chris Hemsworth is an action guy, great, but like again, the plot was very like this would be a great video game. Like I see this being a video, so. At the end, he pulls off. Obviously, he's unkillable, kind of motive. But like this one, at least they acknowledge it, right? I think that's the important part, rather than just like every John Wick movie, he just gets back, he just gets up and keeps going. But like,
just
it's fine.
go watch the final shot from this trailer. It'll sell you. Like, he's on top of a train with like one of those gigantic like Gatling guns, and he's like shooting down a helicopter. It's truly amazing. I mean, like, I feel like you put those things together in a different like creator's hand, and maybe it looks like cheesy or not cool, but it's pretty.
So the first one is very much set, and I believe in like the Middle Eastern country, right? Like trying to get out of it.
Or I thought it was maybe like India, but I don't quite remember.
Yeah, it's somewhere over there. It all looks the same. But this one seems to be like there's a big fight. Like, looks like a gulag, right? Early on, like a snow level and stuff. So it looks like that he might be going to more locales on his way for an extraction as well. So
and to defend you there momentarily, Chris, it all looks the same because most Western movie studios film everything in the middle part of the globe with that yellow tint. And they always shoot kind of in the same kind of back alley. So a lot of us Americans cannot determine the differences of locations over there.
The action is like
it kind of sucks.
Like, they're indoor, like the camera's moving quickly indoors. There's some cars running. Like, you don't get really a sense of where it is, because if it's a made up country, it could very well be a made up country or region.
Yeah,
thing.
We do like to do that in movies. We like to just invent Middle Eastern countries so we don't offend. Offend any sensibilities, but yes, we do acknowledge there are differences between India and the Middle East and Pakistan and all those different things.
Yeah, they just don't put those on film very often over here. So but that's on Netflix. So you can go watch that anytime you want. This next one's coming up. Did I have a release date? And I apologize for not putting that in here because I always try to put it June 16th. So I'll put that in the notes, that way you guys know. June 16th, 2023 on Netflix. So this is, I think, a really good Netflix movie. I haven't watched all of it, but I think this will be a good one. So all right, now we're into the meat and blue milk of the podcast. Mike,
I just scrolled down and I was like, oh my god, we have so much Star Wars stuff.
I would like, I don't normally put notes together several days early, but I this document started literally on Monday and has just been growing and growing and growing. Taking out rumors, replacing with facts, so on and so forth. So first and foremost, Star Wars Celebration Europe is happening. It started Friday morning, like in Europe. They're like 5 hours ahead of us.
They went hard at it. This is a whole weekend thing, but they gave us all the juicy tidbits before the weekly news cycle ended. Right? We got to get this all out on Friday because not as many people are going to be in front of their computers over the weekend.
Yeah, it's Easter. We got to do this now. So they hit hard, and the first thing and foremost that they released, we have a screenshot from the panel, is that there is now a new official Star Wars timeline released of different areas, and there's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 9 eras that they're going to focus on. And I will say two things. One, these icons are shit because I can't tell the difference between any of them, right? The New Republic, the Jedi Order, the Old Republic all look the same. The Fall of the Jedi and Reign of the Empire are just inverse colors of each other. So like it really is, when you look at it, it's awful to tell them apart. So I have to fault them for that. However, this helps out tremendously for Mike because he now knows where things are.
Yes.
In terms of timelines. But
and for like some context as well, there were 2 new icons added because this timeline actually did exist, because I had to do a little bit of searching because I was trying to find like some higher res version of these icons. And luckily, Chris, you helped me out with somebody's fan version of it that you found online. But these 2 icons at the front and the back of it did not exist before this presentation, and that's the Dawn of the Jedi and the New Order.
New Jedi Order. So those are both Jedi, ironically, both Jedi incorporated, which means lightsabers galore might coming up for you in the future. But the biggest takeaway I think from this timeline is, Mike, is there is no mention of Skywalkers anywhere in this goddamn timeline. They have, I think, officially stepped away from the Skywalker name and that story arc in terms of how they're differentiating the timelines in Star Wars going forward.
Yeah, I mean, like, that is the unfortunate thing, right? I mean, and I feel like we've talked this to death, right? But like that First Order icon right there, I just have very little enjoyment of the things that happen behind that icon, right? But it is kind of nice to see a visual line of everything. You know, I can kind of internalize the different events that have happened behind each little symbol, and there's things that I liked and there's things that I hated. So at least I can organize my thoughts a little bit better.
And I have done the duty of every bullet point today in Star Wars has a brackets of which era this takes place in for Mike's knowledge.
Perfect. This is a great segue, Chris, right? Because this is the whole idea I was talking about, right? You know, if the Marvel movies are one big series where you need recaps, I can't imagine anything in more of a need of that than Star Wars, right? And I was pitching this idea to Chris over the weekend, and I think it's great. You get a little taste of this, and they do this at the beginning of Marvel movies, right? When they show the Marvel logo, and in between the letters on the sides, you get little clips of the movies. And somewhat more recently, they've been tailoring those clips to the movie that you're about to watch, right? They're trying to hype you up for, you know, the next Black Panther movie you're about to watch. So here's clips from the previous, like, Black Panther installments or other places that you have seen T'Challa across the universe. I want to see that expanded a little bit more, right, for Star Wars. Like, every time I open up a new episode of Star Wars, right, or every time I sit down for a new Star Wars movie, I need a reel of clips from that era, right, that grounds me in the timeline, because we are all over the place, man. Look at all these icons. You could be dropped in so many different timelines of Star Wars. I cannot get my bearings. Mandalorian is on season 3, and we're almost wrapping up season 3 of The Mandalorian. I constantly forget where we are in the timeline. I'm like, are we before the Death Star, after the Death Star? I keep forgetting, and it's driving me crazy. So if there was even if it was just like 10 seconds of clips, I'm not even talking a lot. I'm not talking like, a previously on the Star Wars universe, and then I get like 60 seconds of, like, just give me something that's like, show me iconic clips that anchors me into this world a little bit more. And I think that would be great.
There's definitely a way to do it. I just think their naming convention doesn't help anybody either. If I said, Mike, we're in the Old Republic, we're like, well, is that the High Republic or is that the New Republic? And like, well,
or even if I do know what the Old Republic is, right? Yeah. Does the High Republic come before or after it?
Yeah. Their naming convention is just, it's not quite there yet. But it seems they're working on it a little bit, and maybe, knock on wood, we can get there. Because, like, there's the First Order and the Jedi Order. Okay, well, are they the same thing?
An attempt.
Yeah, so it seems like they're at least doing that. And I think, we're going to talk about these, I'll just go through the names here. Dawn of the Jedi, the Old Republic, the High Republic, Fall of the Jedi, Reign of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, which there's some overlap in those two, the New Republic, Rise of the First Order, New Jedi Order. These all are very interesting, but the stories we're going to talk about, the announcements going forward, seem to be doing a past, a present, and future approach, which doesn't help anybody when you don't know where those are at the moment, right? So
I am pulling this little icon sheet down. I am going to put it at the bottom of my screen, so
we can talk about
roll through I can put them where they need to go.
So the new one is Dawn of the Jedi and the New Jedi Order, as Mike mentioned. So these seem to be timelines that Lucasfilm wants to explore, which they've not touched on. So those are going to come up pretty quickly here. But let's go in and talk about, I think, the most important trailer reveal, the only trailer actually out of this weekend that we got, and that was the Ahsoka trailer. And this is set in the New Republic for those who want to follow along at home with their timeline release. So this is literally during The Mandalorian, right? This picks up. We've seen Ahsoka in Mando season 2 and a Book of Boba Fett. So this trailer literally is bringing, written and directed by Dave Filoni, is bringing his Rebels characters into live action and setting us for the return and, I guess, debut of live action Admiral Thrawn, one of the biggest threats ever in Star Wars Legends and the newer expanded universe from Star Wars.
As Weird Al would say, Chris, talk nerdy to me.
Yes.
Explain to me what's going on. So this show is rooted in the New Republic icon, which is third from the end, and the New Republic icon is also where Mandalorian resides.
Yes, this coincides. The Mandalorian stories will pick up. This will pick up from her appearance in The Mandalorian. Yes,
but now confirm with me, since this is very rooted in the Rebels TV show. What icon does Rebels fall under?
Rebels would be under Age of Rebellion.
Okay, that makes Rebels, Rebellion. Okay, at least I can kind of make the connection.
In our show notes, I've actually included where the shows exist in the parentheses around. Like Age of Rebellion is Andor, Star Wars Rebels, Rogue One, and the original trilogy, and you can view that in our show notes as well.
Excellent.
So yes, so we get to see the first live action appearances of Sabine Wren, who was a lead character in Star Wars Rebels. Hera Syndulla, confirmed to be played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, the wife of Obi-Wan Kenobi herself. And we get the introduction of new dark side users, Baylan and Shin. And I want to talk about these two characters a little bit, Mike, because
I'm glad to know that they're new, because I was like, who are these people? So this is a problem, a potential problem that I foresee with this series, right? It's heavily rooted in Dave Filoni's animated work that I would say maybe had less eyeballs on it than Clone Wars, right? I mean, I think, Chris, you could probably safely say that Clone Wars is more popular than Rebels. Right?
Yeah. Clone Wars definitely had a lot more years behind it, and then Rebels only came about after Disney bought them. But Rebels, again, has had a following. I would say it's similar to like watching The Legend of Korra after watching Avatar, right? Their characters carry over, storylines carry over, but
Gotcha.
They're different, I guess, people watching them sometimes. So yes.
And after I watched this trailer, I went on YouTube and I was like, I want to look for like a Rebels recap, right? I just kind of want to speed run this, right? Just get familiar with the plot and the characters super quick. And weirdly enough, there must not be a lot of demand for it, because I could only find like an official recap from Star Wars for the first 3 seasons, and then I had to kind of watch some trailers for season 4 and patch some stuff together, and I found some like kind of really low effort like descriptions and explainers for like the final episode. So no one out there yet has kind of done like a big omnibus reflection on the Rebels show as a whole. So I'm just like, well, someone's got to get on it. Someone's got to get on top of this now, because we're about to get a whole premium live action series leaning into Rebels. So I feel like I kind of got my feet wet a little bit. I kind of understand where they're at.
Absolutely. So these are characters who are fighting against the Empire on a planet called Lothal, and introducing a previous Padawan, voiced by Freddie Prinze Jr. I can't think of his name, Kanan Jarrus, and then his trainee, who's the main character, this Ezra Bridger, who are, and all these other side characters, they're now coming to life in Ahsoka, because she made her return from Clone Wars in this show. And then come to find the big villain at the end of this was Admiral Thrawn, who was known from his, again, Star Wars Legends appearances, the Thrawn trilogy. But these new characters, I just want to point out here, so we get to see actor Ray Stevenson, the Punisher himself, as Baylan, and then the character Shin. So it's cool in this trailer because Baylan looks a lot like Luke in Episode 6, right? Return of the Jedi. He's got the cloak on. He's like doing the single blocks with his black suit. But Shin, has a Padawan braid in her hair in that trailer as well. So I think these are, not necessarily Sith, but like dark Jedi that have turned over the years, right? In turn. Because their lightsabers are also not red. They're orange red. And did you catch that color-ish?
I actually didn't catch it. Maybe it's just maybe is it just the color correction, or are they trying to like actually differentiate them a little bit?
I think they're trying to differentiate them. Like they're not fully Sith. Like the Sith get the red lightsabers, and there's only 2 Sith. So these might be picking up, like now that there's a power vacuum, they may be trying to, use the dark side for other purposes. But these are very much orange-red blades instead of the red blades. So
I'd love the idea of the, they are a little orange, aren't they?
Yeah.
I'd love the idea of kind of like the villains evolving a little bit. Like we almost got a little bit of that in the newer trilogy of Star Wars, right? Where Kylo was thinking about taking things in a different direction, but they've all just kind of seen like boilerplate, like evil. And they kind of followed the same rules, but like the rules are almost kind of a little silly when you think about them too. Like, there can only be like, what's the rules with like the
there can only
Sith?
2, a master and an apprentice always. That's what they are.
Yeah, it's just like I feel like if you want to win this fight, maybe expand the numbers a little bit more. So,
well, that rule originally came around because all the Sith were so evil, they were just trying to kill each other all the time. So they're like, well, now we're just going to get down to 2 because then I always know who's the one's trying to kill me. But yeah, I think I was talking with a listener of the show, Patrick, about Star Wars, right? And the we're not going to get into the Mandalorian today, but I think the problem with the season is lacks of villain, right? There's no it's just telling a story, but there's no villain in the Mandalorian season 3 right now, right? Like, who's the evil part? This trailer gives us one pair of villains right away and mentions a third villain coming. I'm like, you need antagonists to make a show, work and operate and move forward. Now we have antagonists in this trailer, and I think that's a fantastic, acknowledgement going forward. Like, we know who the bad guys are and who we're going to be who we're going to be rooting for and against throughout the show.
Yes.
For this.
And ultimately, this New Republic kind of section that this exists in is going to ladder up to a bigger event, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. So it could be Thrawn. We'll see. Yeah. So
actor Lars Mikkelsen will the brother of Mads Mikkelsen, by the way, for those who are confused. He voiced the character Thrawn in the cartoon Rebels, and he will play the live action version as well in the upcoming show.
Cool.
They showed him in motion in the at the thing, and I'm not gonna put it in here because it will be taken down, but I'm gonna send you a photo, Mike, of like literally the look they're going for in this.
I see. Yeah, because we only saw the back of his head, but just imagine like a dude with a receding hairline, blue skin, and red eyes,
like a blue Elon Musk is what people said. But
I see that. Yeah,
but also looking at cams in motion from an event that you're not supposed to take photos at, it's not a good representation. But he's blue skinned, black hair, red eyes, like that's Thrawn through and through. So very excited to have that. David Tennant, the Purple Man himself, will voice the droid in this show. There's a droid, I think, in the trailer later on that was going to be David Tennant's voice, and it's coming August of this year, Mike, 2023, late summer, which is fantastic. So Ahsoka's exciting. I'm excited to get back into this. One of the things I think, again, I don't want to beat on the Mandalorian because the show's not done, but one of the things that has issues with is I don't think the writer, Jon Favreau, he's writing something big, but it's not focused. And Dave Filoni always writes something very focused, right? And I'm excited for him to get behind the scripts again and see some of his work.
Yeah, it almost just seems like Favreau is just like, I have a million projects happening right now. I need you to carve out 20 minutes in my calendar so I can write the next episode, right? And it's just like he's very talented, so he can at least make something serviceable, right? In that like kind of 20-minute break, but it's like you need at least a couple of days to polish this up.
Well, I don't think he has the long vision that Filoni's always played a long game in his shows, right? The Clone Wars, Rebels. So I think he's doing like the one-offs, but he's not doing the long game. But we'll talk about the long game for the Mandalorian here in a little bit. Mm-hmm. Also set in the New Republic era, Mike, is the show The Skeleton Crew that we've kind of been talked about with Jude Law and a bunch of kids playing the roles. So we got some images from the panel here. They're not official. They're little bitty images, actually, showing Jude Law and the cast. And that one in the brown overalls in the middle, I need to find the bigger photo, is actually, I believe, playing an alien that's a mocap suit for them in this.
Yeah, even with the little tiny postage stamp that was there first, I was like, yeah, something's on that kid's face. Something non-human's going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. So he is going to be playing an alien. Let me see if I can pull up the regular. I'm gonna fix this real fast while we're live. But yeah, I think it's it's fun to I guess know that they're gonna be having their links updated. Like, I guess not just normal human kids. There will be some alien kids in here. One of them looks like a Cyclops Storm mix with like an eye band on, kind of like Geordi LaForge from Star Trek with like bleached white hair.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then also Jude Law is confirmed to be a Jedi in this show, Mike. So he will probably be packing a lightsaber at some point. We don't know which Jedi.
And that's happening in the
New Republic.
Yeah, which that happened
with Ahsoka and Mando.
Oh, just after it.
Well, it's the same as Ahsoka and Mando, so it's in the same time frame as.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was thinking of the age. See, even this timeline is not totally getting me there, but it is helping.
Yes. So, real quick, the synopsis on Skeleton Crew: this journey of 4 kids who make a mysterious discovery on their seemingly safe home planet, then get lost in a strange and dangerous galaxy. Finding their way home and meeting unlikely allies and enemies will be a greater adventure than they ever imagined. So, it sounds like a kid show, Mike, at the end of the day. Focused for kids, on kids, but maybe some adult themes in here as well. It reminds me of Goonies. Like, looking at the picture, I'm like, this feels like Goonies in space.
It's John Watts, right? The director of Spider-Man. There was a tidbit. I don't know if it came out of the conference, but John Watts was just talking to Jon Favreau on the set of one of the Spider-Man movies, and he was just like, "Oh, wouldn't it be cool if there was like a Star Wars story that like kind of followed like a group of kids?"
Yeah.
And then Jon Favreau was just like, "All right, like game on, let's do it." And like that's kind of the origin of it, so that's kind of fun.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely, and the fact that again, obviously, there's a big emphasis on the Jedi. Having another Jedi in this is very, very interesting. I did not expect him to be one, if I'm going to be completely honest. So. Skeleton Crew, no release date. They are working on this. This is a fun show. Looks ahead. Also, hold on a second. I put this in wrong. This is the wrong one. This is Age of Rebellion here, Mike. So we're going to talk about Star Wars Jedi Survivor. It's in the Age of Rebellion. You know where that is? No telling where the Age of Rebellion is in this.
Oh, sorry, my microphone was on mute, and I was like passionately trying to figure this out.
You're good. So, Age of Rebellion. We'll pick back up where we left off, and Mike was muted. So, Age of Rebellion. Do you see where that is in the?
Yes, Age of Rebellion. It's right after Reign of the Empire, which is that the classic Star Wars trilogy. Reign of the Empire.
No, Age of Rebellion is the classic Star Wars trilogy. If you scroll up, you'll see the shows there: Andor, Rebels, Rogue One, all at the same time. So Star Wars Jedi Survivor is the game coming out, the sequel to I forget what the last one was even called. Star Wars Survivor, but either way, it's the one with Cal Kestis as the main character.
We can't even keep track of the titles of. I can't remember the new trilogy title. It's something Skywalker.
Rise
Jedi.
of Skywalker, yeah.
Oh
Last Jedi, The Last Skywalker, The Rise of Jedi. It's all the same.
Is this how my mom feels when she looks at the MCU? Like I can like decipher it like clear as day, and she's like, I don't understand this.
Look, anything beyond 2 movies, I think this is how normal people look at it. So. But this gameplay, the Souls-like game, it is coming out April 28th, and the final gameplay trailer was released this weekend. Not a lot of gameplay in the trailer, but it's still obviously you start the game with all the powers you got at the end of the last game. You don't have to relearn all your Force powers again, thankfully. Takes place, I believe, 5 years into the future after the last game, so that's even more fun. So I'm really excited to see what they're covering in this and how this plays off into the bigger universe. One of the cool parts, though, and this was always something I always loved about Star Wars, you know how Jedi have different fighting styles that they practice and master, right? Mm-hmm. There's like 7. He actually can choose different fighting styles that he's learned in his time over the years. So you actually have like one that's better for being quick, one that's better for defense, one that's balanced. So that's pretty fun.
They kind of had something similar in Ghosts of Tsushima, where you could kind of take on different stances, depending on kind of what villain you were going up against. So that's pretty cool. Yeah,
absolutely. And obviously the lightsaber battles, Mike. Oh, so many lightsabers in there. Building your own, it's gonna be so fun. Okay, so let's get into 3 Star Wars movie announcements. Ooh, did people think we were getting movie announcements this weekend? We did. We talked about it before, but I did not expect these 3 movies, Mike. So, out of the blue, we have essentially Star Wars Episode 10 is what I'm going to call it. And it may not be Episode 10, it may be a different title, but this is a movie set in the new Jedi Order, one of the new timelines created unveiled at Star Wars Celebration.
If you read from left to right, to the very, 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 very right of the timeline that we've been discussing.
Yes. This is set 15 years after the rise of Skywalker and will feature Daisy Ridley as Rey returning to train new Jedi in this movie. The point of this is that she is set to correct Luke's mistakes in bringing the Jedi back and set up a new Jedi Order going forward for us.
Yeah, and who's directing this one again? I'm trying to remember.
Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. She was the director for Miss Marvel. The show.
That's right. Yeah, because they brought 3 directors up on stage, and I was trying to remember who was attributed to this one. I mean, it's hard not to talk about the things I don't like about Star Wars when it comes to like this movie going forward, but it does highlight, I think, a lot of issues that they have to solve in general, right? Of just like, how many times is like the battle between good and evil, or like the good guys and the bad guys, going to ebb and flow, right? You know, theoretically, in the last movie, we saw all evil die in front of us, right? The
all
mysterious
known evil.
Yeah, well, surprise, the Emperor has returned. Surprise, another bad guy has returned, right? We saw them all die. The whole universe came together to save the whole galaxy, right? So I'm just like, how does a new villain kind of like pop back up? Like, I feel like almost like we're kind of mentally primed for this kind of ebb and flow in like superhero movies, right? Because we get it. Superheroes are always fighting villains. They crop up from different parts of the galaxy, but they're always like at least visually unique or distinct or different or have different goals. Where in Star Wars, it's just always been some version of the Empire, right?
There is a story set, I guess, late 90s, early 2000s that bring these aliens from the, like, I guess, outside the Outer Rim. They're force insensitive. Like, you cannot use force powers on them. And they come in kind of like the Borg from Star Trek, really. Like, they're not mechanical, but they're like organic creatures who are force resistant. And they come and try to take over the galaxy. And there's a whole series of novels dedicated to, you know, Luke and Han and Leia and their kids, like, trying to fight off these force insensitive creatures. I think that's an opportunity you could bring forward. Right? Like,
we've talked about it before, and it does make sense. And if you are to establish that maybe in the new Jedi Order timeline, you could at least contrive like a reasoning of like, oh, maybe they see like a power vacuum. Maybe they have their own kind of like spidey sense in a way, like the Jedi do of, they feel like a great disturbance in the, you know, in the hierarchy of that galaxy. So now it's time to move in, which makes sense why we haven't seen them for all of these, like, you know, years. So that could be a way to do it too. But yeah, this has got to be their opportunity to just like move forward, right? Because the original, it's not, nothing's original anymore. But the original newer trilogy that Daisy was in was just all rehashing old characters and old stories and old ideas. So at least I can be excited. It's just a clear runway in front of them. There is nothing to stop them. All of our old characters that we love are dead and in the ground, right? Nothing can stop. There's nothing in their way. There's no, since all of those books and stuff aren't canon anymore, nothing can pull them down. So I'm hoping that there's some vision here.
Well, I think that's the thing. While I appreciate this, right, moving 15 years forward kind of clears the slate a little bit, right, if you will. Like, anyone of human aging is gone, right? I don't know about alien aging. And moving forward, we need a very, like you mentioned, an evil force. It doesn't have to be force users, right? We got to figure out what the evilness is in this new Jedi Order. But at the same time, there are going to be multiple films in this, right? If there's an episode 10, 11, 12, what is the end goal, and can you hopefully have a see-through plan, right? Like that we don't see it, we don't have to know what it is, but like you've planned out the next 3 movies. You know what you're building towards and doing, rather than, again, having a sequel trilogy issue where all 3 movies don't line up with each other because nobody was really everyone running the ship was different people, right, at the same time.
If Kathleen Kennedy is the super producer that can do anything that she believes that she is and people say that she is, this is her opportunity to kind of fix mistakes, re-strategize, and move forward.
I think this movie, or at least the announcement of the next 3 movies with her, will be her swan song, if you will, right? She's been doing this for, 30, 40 years of producing movies, not just Star Wars, but overall in the producing world. Like, she needs to go out with a win if she's going to go out on her own terms, right? And I think this is an opportunity for her to do that. Right, so if she's ever quits or leaves, it's not because Star Wars. She's been doing this for so goddamn long. Like, she could like retire tomorrow and no one be like surprised because she's been in it for so long. So I'm like, if you're gonna keep doing it, you know, try to pull out your best stuff before you go and leave on a really, really good note.
And honestly, we're not too far off from kind of saying the same thing about Kevin Feige too. He's not been in that particular role as long as Kathleen has been. But yeah, eventually all of these higher up like architect puppet masters, they're human, right?
Yeah.
They can't be around forever. So yeah, something's got to change.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, you want to go out on a good note. You don't want to be a Jeff Loeb. Nobody wants to do that. So so there's opportunity here. But yeah, Star Wars Episode 10, there's no title for this yet, but they are working on this, and I can tell you the incels on the internet, Mike, were up in arms over Daisy Ridley returning. But I don't care. I don't blame her for anything in those movies at all. I think she did a great job with what she was given, and I'm excited to see what that new story going forward is with her. The other movie, another movie that was announced, is Star Wars: The New Republic, which is actually titled the same as the era it's in, thankfully.
Thank you.
So this is actually Dave Filoni's movie he's been wanting for so long, or at least has earned for so long, that will culminate the entire Mandalorian timeline and those Disney Plus shows, including Mandalorian, Ahsoka. I'm going to assume Skeleton Crew has something to do with this as well. Book of Boba Fett. This is what they're all working towards finally, and I think this will cap them all off, Mike. This will be the ending, to use it again, the swan song of the Disney Plus shows for Star Wars in this era, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can't keep Pedro Pascal, on the roster. I mean, his career has absolutely exploded. He could do anything. And usually when people's careers explode, right, they want to move into a Star Wars or they want to move into like a Marvel or whatever to get those big bucks, but he's kind of already there, right?
Yeah.
So he's got nothing but opportunity in front of him. And also, like, you're on season 3. I mean, for a streaming show, I mean, how many more do you expect to get?
Right.
So I guess all of the speculation around this, right, is like, how many more do we have of everything, right? Do we get a second book of Boba Fett before this one goes to market? Do we get a 4th season of Mando? Or, is this movie, would you kind of consider it the 5th season of Mando, where it comes out? And how long is it going to take to get this movie in production?
Yeah, we say Mandalorian, but I think that's because it's like the best of the 2 shows that have come out, right? To me, this is essentially Dave Filoni bringing his Clone Wars full circle, right? Like, there's going to be the Ahsoka cast, probably everyone from Clone Wars, Rebels, Ahsoka. I think this is the villain. This is the Thrawn villain, right? This is like, he will be a presence in the Ahsoka show, but he's not the villain at the end of it. Like, or he comes back, and this movie is what has to bring him down, because obviously these characters, we don't know about them in the, I guess the sequel trilogy, right? The First Order is in charge there. So where are these during that time? And I think there's an opportunity to do this.
Yeah, minor. I guess not minor. I guess this is spoilers for Rebels for sure. But I mean, there's nothing you can do about it now. Like it's all out there. The characters that are alive and who aren't and everything. But I did see, in my limited capacity of being able to go on YouTube, Ezra Bridger, right?
Yes. Yep.
Which I always think, I'm always trying to say like Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
And Thrawn are like mysteriously catapulted into space by light speed like octopuses. Which
they're whales. The whales from the Mandalorian episode 2, where Grogu's like sees them in the light speed. Those are the whales, the Purgils. That actually, not the same ones that took Thrawn and Ezra to the Outer Rim, but they are the force-sensitive, light-speed traveling whales that they use. So,
and even though I didn't watch the series, I'm like, that is a cool way to kind of like end it, right? To kind of send your main hero and main villain just into this mysterious part of the galaxy, never to be heard from again. It's just like a fun little mystery, right? Because you end with your hero Ezra. He has the arm up on him. It's not like Ezra's gonna get his ass whooped in this mysterious part of the galaxy off camera, right? He's got the upper hand, which is which is great. So it does. I feel like with the undertone of this possible like cloning arc that's been under a lot of Dave Filoni's stuff, right? Does the movie kind of culminate with Thrawn? Is he the kind of one in charge, spearheading, that's been cloning the Emperor? Bringing him back? Is this are we finally going to get an explanation of like suddenly the Emperor returns and we're going to get backstory on that?
I don't think Thrawn has done anything thus far. I think they are still looking for him, but they're hearing he's making his way back, right? Galaxy's a big place. There's a lot of planets we find out that are not on this registry, as the shows have been telling us. But this is saying there's an escalating war between the Imperials and the fledgling New Republic. Well, the Imperials are technically remnants of the Empire, right? Not the new First Order. So I think this will kind of maybe kill off any references to the Empire, like that. This is where the Empire officially is dead, and maybe it picks up. It doesn't pick up, but it just shows this is how the First Order gets started at the same time. But like, I'm excited for this, knowing that these shows have not an expiration date, but an end goal in mind, right? Like, where are they all going finally? Who is this? And who is the person in charge? Our man in the cowboy hat himself, Mike, Mr. Dave Filoni, which gets me excited.
Him in that cowboy hat. What an iconic look.
On the stage with that, yeah.
Great news for Filoni.
Yeah, absolutely. And great news for people who, who want these shows to actually do something together rather than just, one-off things. I think that's a great ending for all of them. Lastly, the other third movie that was announced is Star Wars The First Jedi. Ooh. And this is set during the other era on the left-hand side of the slide with the Dawn of the Jedi era.
This is the most exciting thing that was announced. This is the James Mangold movie that was announced on screen. The single best thing about this is set 25,000 years, I think, from... I don't remember exactly what point in time that they said, but it doesn't even matter.
Because it's like 20 years in the current timeline, so yeah.
Yeah, because 25,000 years is so far in the past, like, ain't nothing, here going to connect to what we know and love. I mean, he said this is going to kind of be like a biblical retelling of the first Jedi, which sounds crazy.
So in this world, the Jedi are essentially like a religion, right? If you will. They're Force users, whatever. But like this is so far back, a biblical epic tale about, how the Jedi have started. This timeline has always been hinted at, but never uncovered or told through any Lucasfilm stories. So I think that's even the cooler part, right? Like this is something brand new, similar to the High Republic, right? That's a recent revelation at Lucasfilm, Disney, Marvel. So this is even greater to go back and literally, do you want any baggage? Well, too goddamn bad, because there's nothing related to this. You can make up whatever you want to tell this story.
This is almost so far into the past. Like, do you even see like a lightsaber? I mean, in the icon that they give us, there is something that does look lightsaber-esque, right? So maybe it kind of coincides in the same story, right? Maybe the very first person to kind of feel the Force, right? I'm almost thinking like, is it like some sort of like a deity? Is it just some person that meditates every day and it's like, whoa, man, I can start moving rocks here. This is crazy.
In the Clone Wars, there's actually three people, the Mortis, or something to do with Mortis. There's the father, the son, and the daughter. Like the father is like the creator of the Force, and there's the son and daughter who are light side and dark side. So there's like this whole dichotomy of all this stuff, and it'd be interesting to see like maybe those, like you mentioned, like a deity of some kind, like or maybe just a creature who can manipulate the Force on a whole different level than we're used to. Really taking that and bringing that to live action with this, but. Lightsabers, it looks like lightsabers, maybe the development of the first lightsaber, Mike, like rudimentary lightsabers, not the refined weapons we see now.
What would be really, really cool, now this is like big brain stuff,
okay,
right?
Don't hurt yourself, but let's do it.
This is like mile high looking down. It's so far in the past, right? There is a side of my brain, right, that goes franchise. How do we at least attempt to connect this to the current timeline in some other way? Since this is so far back in the past, like what if that very first lightsaber that's ever been invented is just like wild, crazy, you can't tame it, it's like super overpowered, it's like this relic that
the lightsaber that beats every other lightsaber?
Yeah, something like that. Go ahead, whatever. Make it like make it a gimmick. Make it a just make it an unbeatable Deus Ex Machina type of thing. I don't care. And then at the end of this, maybe like James Mangold trilogy or whatever, the lightsaber gets like buried and encased in a tomb or whatever, and like Daisy Ridley like tracks it down and finds it. We all know that character loves to track down little trinkets. That's what she does through the entire trilogy, right? So maybe she finds it, and then we finally get to connect the beginning to the end. That could be cool, because that's the only way, right? You have something survive over 25,000 years, some sort of relic buried underground.
Buried. It could be in a Force location. Like there's Jedi and Sith temples, right? Things like that. It could be there are ways to preserve items. You make me then, because James Mangold is doing literally Indiana Jones. Logan talks about this stuff. Like, what if it was a story that starts in the new Jedi Order and they're looking for that item, and the whole movie is told in the past of like the item they're looking for, in that regards.
That would be cool. I mean, I'm seeing a theme here where they're bringing in creators to just kind of fix some of the nonsense that has been created in the Star Wars universe of just like, okay, the Emperor comes back out of nowhere. Let's make a whole like streaming universe that fixes that awful storytelling problem. Or like, the holocrons that I feel like are always being hunted down. Maybe we do some think deep diving of how those exist.
Well, I mean, we just made that up on our own for the holocron thing. But I don't think anyone is saying this is a problem, let's fix it. I think there is a Bible. They just didn't tell the story very well, right? Like, I think there's a way to tell the return of Palpatine without literally them just starting the movie off. Oh, he's back. And you're like, what the fuck did I just miss? Like, what? Like, there was a whole movie about bringing him back. Like, that's the one you wanted to see, not that one. So I think the Bible is there and they can tell the stories, but like the people who were in charge of those didn't do a good job, at the moment. But the First Jedi sounds like really fun, right? Like I said, if we wanted to even remove anything from this, there are no strings attached to this. There's nothing about this that we need to know ahead of time, other than they're telling us the very first story of the Jedi Order and how it started at the beginning. So very excited to see what Mangold brings together with this. Something we didn't get to see in terms of no trailer released publicly, but they did show a new logo for the Acolyte and kind of some other I guess descriptions for this. The old Acolyte trailer actually had like a red lightsaber slash through it, and this one seems to have like looks like a red and blue ring kind of together.
Yeah. It just kind of gives off a little bit more of a peaceful vibe.
Yeah.
And less of like, a slashed letter.
Yeah, this is in the High Republic era, and it kind of deals with, the Sith, some Sith at the end of the High Republic, but in Jedi, but like the red and blue make me think of lightsaber battles, right? But the rings I don't quite understand the rings. Now,
you might...
Go ahead.
I was going to say, you might not know this, Chris, because maybe it's a little bit too of a niche question, but like, the kind of the universal kind of city that everyone kind of attracts to in the Star Wars universe is Coruscant.
Coruscant, right? Is the capital city, yeah.
Yeah, so is the High Republic back far enough to where like Coruscant exists, or are they building Coruscant?
Coruscant is so many levels deep because they keep building more and more levels onto it over time. So I do believe it exists in the High Republic.
Okay, so maybe they'll be like, it's there, but maybe they're building.
Well,
right? Maybe there'll be some galactic cranes in the background.
They could
a little bit more.
Well, I think that the most important part of this logo is, and you don't see it until you look closely, is there's a yellow line on the inside of the blue ring. Do you notice that, the yellow line? Mm-hmm. So in this trailer, there are literally gold lightsabers being lit up, like actual full-on gold Jedi Protector lightsabers.
And this was the trailer only screen for the audience,
yes,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's no pictures of this yet. And multiple Jedi igniting their blades in this, Mike. You're going to get lightsabers. They say the action is similar to The Matrix, like that kind of kung fu, like wire work action from The Matrix in this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about the High Republic, but I kind of perceive it as like a higher era, at least for the Jedi. Like this is like maybe the peak of the Jedi Council. As far as I know, they just defeated all of the Sith in the Old Republic. So I'm like, who are they going ham on with these lightsabers?
I think it's more, again, similar to how we view the Jedi in Episode 1. Like they're counselors on peacekeeping missions. They're not necessarily fighting other lightsaber people, but they're that. But there are, I believe, Sith or at least evil lightsaber users in this world still for the High Republic. And this is where a young Yoda could still be. This is only a couple hundred years before the Phantom Menace, so not too far back. But Yoda was, I believe, a not a Padawan, but a trainer, a young Jedi early in the
It's
books
just,
for this as well.
You know that there's the visual design artist at Lucasfilm right now who's trying to figure out what is a middle-aged.
Oh, they already have it. He's been in the comic books for years already. Like,
does he just look slightly less wrinkly? Because Grogu's already wrinkly. He's just small.
Yeah. Let's see. If you look up High Republic Yoda, it will pop up for you. He looks. We're gonna do that. He looks not like he doesn't look too different.
Just looks exactly like Yoda. I guess I don't know. Yeah, he just looks like Yoda.
Yeah, pretty much. He's got some more hair and he's a little more agile, if you will. But yeah, like he's not much difference. But he is like one of 3 Grand Masters of this era.
Oh my gosh, I think this is fan art. But it's with this character with their shirt off, and he has
long
green
hair,
abs. Yeah. I want to see green ab Yoda. That's what I want.
Yeah, that's from like Art Station, like a samurai looking little Yoda.
Yeah,
there.
give me that. Give me ripped Yoda.
Yeah. So yeah, he's been in some of these books and stuff. So he's very active in that, rather than just sitting on the council member in his younger age. But I'm excited for the Acolyte. I would like to see this footage. I know they're working on it. It should be wrapped up pretty soon for this. And there are some. Like I said, I just got my first High Republic novel at C2E2 last weekend, so I'm excited to dive into that and learn some of the characters and what's going on in this world around it. Last Star Wars bit of news, Mike, is Andor. Not much is known about Andor at this time, except they're halfway through filming. They're going to keep filming all the way through August. That is an awful photo. You should not have sent me that.
I sent Chris an awesome Photoshop of a Yoda doing like a muscle man pose in his swamp.
In his Dagobah swamp. Yes,
just
thank you.
Google it. You can find it.
It's very distracting. Well, I was trying to give you information about Andor. But they're on track to wrap up filming August of this year, then spend a year post-production and release August of next year, 2024, per Tony Gilroy, writer and showrunner of Andor, Mike.
There was some fun news about this that I saw that each like 3 episodes or something is supposed to take place over a year, and then the show is already going to premiere like a couple years or a year ahead of time. So they're going to speed run you into
Rogue
what
One.
was the movie called? Yeah, into Rogue One. They're going to get you to that timeline when that movie picks up.
Yeah, they say the end of this is the mission he was on at the beginning of Rogue One. So
yeah, I would love, like, we know all of the cast of characters dies, right? Or unless there's a clever way that they survive. I would hate for them to undercut the sacrifice at the end of that movie, but I just love Cassian Andor so much now, which, surprise, never thought I'd be saying that on the podcast. Yeah. But maybe there's a way he's alive. I don't think so, but it could be fun.
There is a way. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain, Mike. I think if we
clone have everyone else is getting cloned, just clone
if you have another season of Andor, you're just going to be pissed. You're just going to be unhappy with it. I think
I'm not saying another season of Andor. I'm just looking at the icon on this timeline. It's right next to the New Republic icon, right? I'm just like, what can we carry over from this show into Filoni's movie? That's kind of where I'm at. Maybe it's Andy Serkis. Maybe that's what it is. Age him up just a little bit more. Not too much. It's not that far.
Age him too much, he becomes Leader Snoke.
That's true.
From the other one.
But yeah, maybe that's what it is. Skarsgård, right? Maybe he carries over. But I could easily see him dying in the second season. He seems like the type of character that sacrifices his life. He even had like a whole monologue about it.
Even if to me, even if no one makes it through, it's still a really tight story, and they've done a really good job telling it. Right? Like I can't. If no one else makes it out, I can't fault them for that because it's been a good job. But Mon Mothma was in the Ahsoka trailer, actually, that actress.
But she existed previous to this.
I know,
so that's not much of a
but they're using that same character, so maybe they'll take some of that knowledge.
Maybe it's his little robot. Little robot. I forgot his name.
K2SO?
Yeah.
No,
his
the red one.
The
red one.
Can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot its name. Was it BB or something?
Yeah.
I'm thinking BB-8.
Yeah, it was something B.
Yeah, maybe just his little droid carries over and is helping Mando out in his chromed out Star Cruiser.
He will be. It'll be another Mario reference in the Star Wars world. Like that. Look at the droid over there. He was the droid. But either way, they're gonna get us up to Rogue One, and that's pretty cool on that. So. If more comes out about Andor Season 2, we'll let you guys know. Lastly, we got a surprise trailer for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Mike, I did not expect to get this, actually. Even though it's Star Wars Celebration Lucasfilm, I didn't expect to get a trailer. This movie makes me think there's time travel. This dial thing makes me think there's time travel involved here. He's like, I'm going to use this to go help Hitler. I'm like, how? This is 40 years later.
Yeah, it is interesting, right? Because I feel like I feel like the trailer almost reinforces the opposite idea, even though the dial, it's like sitting right there. It's like Chekhov's gun.
Yeah.
Like, you can't give me a time travel dial and not time travel.
Right.
But the trailer almost reinforces, those de-aged Harrison Ford scenes.
Yeah.
Almost more as like flashbacks in a way, or at least that's how they're presented narratively.
But what if you do the dial and it transforms your consciousness back into your older body? Like, maybe that's what it is. Like, not necessarily time travel. You're sending old Indy back, but, like, you're sending your consciousness back to your old body.
Maybe. I mean, I feel like this movie is... If this screenplay was always to exist, right? If this was destiny, pun intended, for it to always happen, it's great that it's happening now because we've done really good at this de-aging technology. If it came a couple years too early, it might be another blight on the Indiana Jones saga.
And again, James Mangold, he's so in demand right now, doing great stuff. Logan was a great opportunity. Again, Mads Mikkelsen, not Lars Mikkelsen, is the villain in this one. So you half of the Mikkelsen brothers here. It looks fun. There's a lot of action. His goddaughter, or whatever, seems to be, in it for her own self too, which makes me think, she's not a sidekick to him, and that's great because he doesn't need a sidekick in these movies.
Yeah, she like leaves him in
like
the
lock him in a door
archives cage. Yeah.
So it's exciting. I don't know what it is. I'm excited for whatever it is. It's fun that they do acknowledge some of the mystical stuff he has done in his adventures. So it makes me think that there's going to be something to do with, like, you can go back and affect the past more than with this, whatever this dial thing does. So I'm interested to see what that is and do that. But that comes out June 30th of this year. I can't believe we're on the cusp of Indiana Jones.
I mean, much like how we started the podcast this week talking about Mario, it's the musical cheat code, right?
Yes.
Every time I hear that Indiana Jones theme, I get so emotional. I can't describe it. And he's very emotional in this trailer. Like, there's kind of like that narration where he's just kind of like talking about his life. You see his old buddies go like, "Yeah, go, you can do it, Indy," and then the music, and I'm just like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna cry in this movie, aren't I?" So yeah, I'm so down for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like a good time. A good Indiana Jones, if you will. Well, that's the show for this week. This went a little longer than I thought it would, but we had a lot of Star Wars news. We had a lot of Star Wars news to cover. So.
I'm going to have to get this timeline tattooed on my body so I can reference
it. And then they're going to change it. So we just need to get you something that tells you where every movie is in relation to this. Because I think the timeline still confused the hell out of you talking to you.
I almost need I just need the movies listed below it too. And
yeah.
Man,
we'll work on it.
What a life.
We'll work on it. All right. Well, people know what you're up to, what you're doing. Where can they find you at, buddy?
Oh, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And you can read my brand new webcomic, Life Rewards Risk, at liferewardsrisk.com or at all of the corresponding social handles. And Chris, if people want to check you out, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Valdana87, or listen to Superhero Slate every week. We're here doing the show. We just did 2 today. We got Super Mario Brothers. Go listen to that. If people want to know more about that show, where can they listen to all the good stuff at?
Yes, if you want to find our own internal timeline of the show, of every episode we've ever made, head on over to superheroslate.com, and you can find all the avenues we host our show. Get our awesome show notes if you want to see everything that we talked about this week, all nice and organized, and a cute little organized bullet list that we use every week. It's great. I love it. I don't know why I called it cute.
It's so adorable.
I think it's because I finished my Mountain Dew. Everything's
cute
and sugary to me right now.
Yeah.
Superheroslate.com, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to find podcasts. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, get merch, superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. What are you most excited about with the Star Wars news? What are you most pessimistic about? Because the light and the dark side of it all, right? Let us know. We love our super fans. If you want to be a super fan of this show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we'll be here every week, folks.
That's right. We'll catch you guys next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.